Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.
Good morning, this is John here. How are you all today? Hope you're having a peaceful one. This is Radio Lewis, where the music matters. Now, I'm starting off today with Winding Me Up by Alan Parsons Project. Now, this is from the album Eve, and that was released in 1979. It features Chris Rainbow on lead vocals. Now, Eve was the first album that Chris Rainbow recorded with Alan Parsons. Many others then did follow. Now, for those of you who are Traffic fans, the opening of this track will be reminiscent of Mr. Fantasy's track House for Everyone. So just have a listen to that. Anyway, enjoy. Alan Parsons Project there. Now, part of the folk movement in the USA of 1964 was Judy Collins, and that stemmed in part from her time in Greenwich Village. And there she covered a number of Dylan material. For example, in 1966, she was heavily involved in that whole scene. And she actually then did become the very first person to cover Leonard Cohen's music. Now, I could have gone for any number of Judy Collins tracks. They're very, very beautiful. But on this occasion, I have opted one for that's a little bit more upbeat. The voice itself is, as we all know, really, really crystal clear. It's a real treat to listen to. And there is a link, only a very faint one, but to the next track that will follow on. I'll come to that later. But just to let you know, apparently, Chelsea Clinton was named after this song. And this is Chelsea Morning, Judy Collins.
Woke up, it was a Chelsea morning, and the first thing that I heard was a song outside my window, and the traffic wrote the words. It came ringing up like Christmas bells, wrapping up like pipes and drums. Oh, won't you stay? We'll put on the day, and we'll wear it till the night comes. Woke up, it was a Chelsea morning, and the first thing that I saw was the sun through yellow curtains and a rainbow on my wall. Blue, red, green and gold to welcome you, crimson crystal beads to beckon. Oh, won't you stay? We'll put on the day. There's a sun show every second. Now the curtain opens on a portrait of today, and the streets are paved with passers-by. Pigeons fly, papers lie, waiting to blow away. Ah, la, 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 la. Woke up, it was a Chelsea morning. First thing I knew, there was milk and toast and honey, and a ball of oranges too, and the light poured in like butterscotch, stuck to all my senses. Oh, won't you stay? We'll put on the day, and we'll talk in present tenses. When the curtain closes and the rainbow runs away, I will bring you incense owls by night, by jewel light, by candlelight, if only you will stay. Oh, my darling, won't you wake up? It's a Chelsea morning.
Judy Collins there. Now, O.C. Smith moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. And as we know, as did Bill Clinton. And there's your link to the next track, which is Hickory Holler's Tramp. Now, Bill Clinton lived in Little Rock, as did Hillary Clinton, and indeed Chelsea Clinton was born there. So there you go. It's a very interesting track, this. It was, I think I've tormented you enough with my album collection from a very, very long time ago, and I informed you all that Fresh Cream was my first track. Actual fact, that wasn't true. I had a little compilation album, and on that was this track, Hickory Holler's Tramp. The reason I'm drawing your attention to it was I never understood the title for years and years. I just couldn't understand what it was about. I do now. Apparently it's an abandoned wife and a fallen woman and a little nipper there as well. Anyway, there are other versions, including Kenny Rogers, but this is the best version, I think. It's Hickory Holler's Tramp, O.C. Smith from 1968.
Was deep and wide from footsteps leading to our cabin. Above the door there burned a scarlet lamp. And late at night a hand would knock and there would stand a stranger. Yes, I'm the son of Hickory Holler's tramp. Yeah, the weeds were high, the corn was dry when Daddy took to drinking. Him and Sally Walker, they up and ran away. Then Mama shed a silent tear and promised 14 children. I swear you'll never see a hungry day. When Mama sacrificed the pride, the neighbors started talking, but we were much too young to understand the things they said. All we really cared about was Mama's chicken dumplings and a goodnight kiss before we went to bed. Oh, you know the path was deep and wide from footsteps leading to our cabin. Above the door there burned a scarlet lamp. And late at night a hand would knock and there would stand a stranger. Yes, I'm the son of Hickory Holler's tramp. When Daddy left and destitution came upon our family, not one neighbor volunteered to lend a helping hand. So just let them gossip all they want. She loved us and she raised us. The proof is standing here, a full-grown man. Last summer, Mama passed away and left the ones who loved her. Each and every one is more than grateful for their birth. And each Sunday she receives a big bouquet of 14 roses with a card that reads, "The greatest mom on earth." Whoa, you know the path was deep and wide from footsteps leading to our cabin. Above the door there burned the scarlet lamp. And late at night a hand would knock and there would stand a stranger. Yes, I'm the son of Hickory Holler's tramp. Whoa, hey, the path was deep and wide from footsteps leading to our cabin. Above the door there burned.
O.C. Smith there. Now for something a little bit more complex. We're moving to Frupp in 1973. Now the track I've selected is Decision, and it is from the Future Legends album. Now the notes of my copy do mention the insight and the increasing pleasure, as it says, concerning repeated listenings, not just of this track, but of Frupp in general. And this is very much a case, and I've found this as I've actually been selecting for this show. I have listened to this track and I've listened to other Frupp tracks in greater and greater detail, and I do find that repeated listening does actually bring sort of greater insight and greater life to the tracks, so they are enjoyable. They are hard listening. I do remember that when I was a young prog fan, I did come across them, as well as another group called Griffin, and I did find them quite demanding, but ultimately rewarding. So from the 1973 album Future Legends, this is Decision and Frup.
Darkness spreads the smoke of sin, and hard signs of welcome in. Another day begins to say the things you did, you'll do again. Life just seems to be a bore. It has no meaning anymore. You could forget the loneliness, yourself
Now, toning things down a tiny bit. By 1969, Syd Barrett's influence on Pink Floyd had actually disappeared completely. And the track I've selected here is from a film called More. It's a film I haven't seen, actually. But the soundtrack itself is really excellent. It does get forgotten, which is a great shame. It's a fabulous album. It's got some tremendous tracks on it, and well worth you hunting them out and having a listen. I'll no doubt will play some more of those in the future. But the track I've selected here is Cirrus Minor. Now, this track, more than any other track on the album, I personally feel, does point the way ahead to the Pink Floyd that we are going to all be familiar with in the future. Now, it's a very dreamy, a very quiet start, so be aware that at first there's hardly anything going on, but you will enjoy it. It's Cirrus Minor from 1969, Pink Floyd.
In a churchyard by a river, blazing in the haze of midday, laughing in the grasses and the graves. Yellow bird, you are not long in singing and in flying on, in laughing and in leaving. Willow weeping in the water, waving to the river daughters, swaying in the ripples and the reeds. On a trip to Cirrus Minor, saw a crater in the sun, 1,000 miles of moonlight later.
Pink Floyd there. Now, I always try to find you something a little bit different. This week I've gone for a one-hit wonder, actually. This track by a group called Bullet reached number 28 in America in January 1972. It was actually released in 1971. And it was actually written, apparently, in July 1971. Now, why am I pressing that point so much? I'll tell you in a second. Interesting to note that the keyboard player from this group, a guy called Roger Pombriand, went on to become the keyboardist in Casey and the Sunshine Band. The reason I'm pointing it out is I am a very big David Bowie fan, and any David Bowie fan who listens will think, that sounds highly familiar. It does sound rather like Bombers, which was an outtake of Bowie released in 1971. So this is a rare outing for White Lies, Blue Eyes, Bullet. Bullet there. Now, in 1969, there was a release by the Fifth Dimension, Aquarius, and this was from the musical Hair. It was actually recorded in 1967, or the musical came out, in 1967. It's a fabulous track, and it really does sum up that period. I always think really like Let's Go to San Francisco. This is another kind of track like that. It really does bring the period together. It's actually two songs put together, Aquarius and Let the Sun Shine In. Marvellous stuff. I hope you enjoy it. The Fifth Dimension with Aquarius.
And
fifth dimension there. That's my logo come to life. Right, I love a theme, and so that's where I'm going to take us next. Ken Thorne. Now, Ken Thorne was a gentleman who did a lot of theme music, actually, for people such as, the musical, I'll start again, the movie Help in 1965. A funny thing happened on the way to the Forum in 1966, and he actually was responsible for the music in terms of the theme music, in the Monkees movie Head in 1968. And he was also involved in a film called Trad Dad, which I have seen actually from 1962, and that starred Helen Shapiro. There was Chubby Checker, Acker Bilt, Kenny Ball, even dear old Derek Guyler put in an appearance there. But the track that I've gone for here is the Legion's Last Patrol. Now, this is one of those things where the film has probably disappeared in people's minds and memories, but the music itself still does linger on. The film was called Commando, actually. It starred Stuart Granger, and it was set in Algeria. And it was a film that did the rounds in the Odeons, and oddly enough was coupled on a bill with The Day of the Triffids. So there was a bit of an odd thing, a war film followed by a sci-fi movie, a very, very odd couple indeed. It's really evocative, it's atmospheric. It does remind me a little bit of some of the later Clint Eastwood productions that started, we started like The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, etc. Have a listen, see what you think. It's the Legion's Last Patrol, Ken Thorne here. the Beatles there with Nowhere Man from the album Rubber Soul. But for a lot of us, I suppose, we think of the film Yellow Submarine and Jeremy Boob. Next, we come to Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Trilogy. Now, this is the title track, Trilogy, from the album. It's their third studio album. It is actually a really, really good album. But oddly, of all their work, and this goes back to when I was, a younger man, it was the one that always least engaged me as an album. Now, the sleeve notes on the reissue that I have, and these are Greg Lake's comments, concerns the number of overdubs that were done on the album that did make playing the tracks quite difficult live. Now, whether that has anything to do with it and it's a kind of a distance that it gives you, I don't know. But the musicianship is as excellent as ever, and, well, there's nothing more to say, but have a listen. This is Trilogy from Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
To mend the love that ended long ago, although we still pretend our love is surely coming to an end. Don't waste the time, you've got to love again. We tried to lie, but you and I know better than to let each other lie. The thought of lying to you makes me cry, counting up the time that's passed us by. I've sent this letter hoping it will reach your hand, and if it does, I hope that you will understand that I must leave in a while. And though I smile, you know the smile is only there to hide what I'm really feeling deep inside. Just a face where I can hang my pride. see the day another way and wake up with the sunshine pouring right down where you lay.
Okay, that's Emerson, Lake and Palmer there. Well, we've come to the end, I'm afraid, and I'm going to conclude with Al Stewart. Now, this is from the album 24 Parrots, stroke Carrots, and it's Rocks in the Ocean, and it's from the year 1980. I always found the cover not particularly that engaging, actually, but the album itself is. It's Al's first album with Shot in the Dark, which became his group that he worked with for quite some considerable time, and it follows on from the wonderful Time Passages album, and we will get to play that another time. Rocks in the Ocean itself is a wistful Celtic song about lost love, a bit of a change from Al's usual fare of history and historical characters. So it's Rocks in the Ocean by Al Stewart. I'd like to thank my producer, Simon Stonehouse, for his sterling work. I'll see you all next week, and I'll leave you with Al Stewart. Bye now.
On a night just like this, in a place far away, he met with a girl in the spring. Something about him just turned her around, as though she were caught on a string. And being so young, they held on to each other to see what the moment might bring. He loved her then in a secretive way, not showing his care or his need. She stayed beside him and looked to the day he would somehow begin to be free. In the chill of the night she would hold him and say, this is how they always should be. Rocks in the ocean, waves on the sea. Keep it in mind, if love comes unsatisfied, don't forget me. Don't forget me. To depend on the more, though the lesson was still to be learned, taking for granted the gift that she gave, as though it were something he'd earned, and she for her part growing slowly away from a love that was never returned. Then came the day that he never foresaw, when he woke to find she was gone. He followed her then to the ends of the world, to tell her how much he'd been wrong. But the more he called her, the more she was lost, leaving only the words of her song. Rocks in the ocean, waves on the sea. Keep it in mind, if love comes unsatisfied, don't forget me. Don't forget me. As he looks for her down through the years, and the friends that he had have all left one by one, for their words weren't reaching his ears. He chooses instead now to wander alone, to a song that only he hears. Rocks in the ocean, waves on the sea. Keep it in mind, if love comes unsatisfied, don't forget me. Don't forget me. Don't forget me.
Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.